Old Testament events point to Jesus. I'll give you some examples. In Genesis, the days of Sodom and Gomorrah, everybody's just sinning and rebelling against God and has no sense of urgency to repent or stop until God sends flaming road tar out of heaven and smokes everyone. That's a foretaste of the end of history. Everyone will just do whatever they want until God sets it all on fire. That's judgment. As well, Joseph's betrayal and elevation. So I'm teaching the life of Joseph and real men. So here's the story of Joseph. Joseph was beloved by his father, betrayed by his brothers. He was thrown in a hole and left for dead. He was wrongly accused and condemned as a criminal. But eventually, he made his way to the right hand of the king, and he ruled over a kingdom, and he blessed people and forgave them. And Jesus is the greater Joseph. He was beloved by his father, betrayed by his brothers. He was wrongly, falsely tried and accused and condemned. He was left in a hole called a grave. He got out and he has ascended. And right now, he's not at the right hand of the Pharaoh. He's the right hand of the Father. He's not ruling over the nation of Egypt. He's ruling over a kingdom that rules over all the nations. And he's still blessing people and forgiving them. Again, the theme of Hebrews is Jesus is greater. Jesus is the greater Joseph. How about the Exodus? God's people are slaves, and God uses Moses to set them free. Jesus is the greater Moses. He delivers us from the pharaohs of Satan, sin, death, hell, and the wrath of God. And he frees us to be his children who can worship him. In addition, how about Jonah? You know the story of Jonah? Let me say this. Jonah's not about the fish. Jonah's about Jesus. Jonah goes in a fish for 3 days, and then he comes out. Jesus says, as Jonah was in the fish for 3 days, I, the Son of Man, will be in the earth 3 days. The story of Jonah is true, and Jesus is greater than Jonah. How about this one? Holy days like the Passover. We're back to Moses. So when God's people were held as slaves in Egypt, they were told that death is coming to the firstborn son in every house, with one exception, those who take a lamb without spot or blemish, showing sinless perfection for the sacrifice's substitution, slaughter the lamb, and then take the blood of the lamb and literally paint over the doorposts of their home so that when death comes, it would literally pass over those who had repented of their sin and had trusted in the blood of the lamb. Guess who that is? It's Jesus. I think it's 2 Corinthians 5:17. Paul says, Christ, our Passover lamb, has been slain. For years, the Jewish people had this Passover celebration, and today we have Jesus, the once-for-all sacrifice, and he is our Passover. How about, you guys still with me? We're getting close. Old Testament titles point to Jesus. I'll give you an example. Around 700 years before Jesus is born, the prophet Daniel in chapters 7, 13, and 14 talks about one like the Son of Man who comes on the clouds with a kingdom. This massive divine glory portrait of some superhuman man who is God and God who is man. Jesus walks on the earth. Guess what his favorite title is for himself? I'm the Son of Man. He speaks it roughly 80 times. And everyone who hears it is like, wait a minute, that's in Daniel. You're saying that you're God. He's like, exactly. Let me say this too, friends. There's no other major world religion in history where the founder says he's God. Only Jesus, and he says it all the time. We kill him for it, and he comes back. I told you so. That's the story.